Today in our Meet the Athlete series, we're taking a look at the very impressive Latvian Aivars Smaukstelis. Aivars, Auntie Liz.
Yes, love Aivars.
Real solid strongman. You know, he's never talked about as a favourite to go and win major competitions, but the man has won a lot in the sport and in recent performances is doing extremely well.
Yeah, Aivars is one of those guys. He's always there or thereabouts, and he's got so much competition experience, and you really see that pay off when it comes to these big shows, even though he may not be one of the absolute favourites.
I know he's been to World's Strongest Man 5 times. He's actually only made the final once before, but a number of times he's been in the stone off. And now Aivars is a great stone lifter, but both times he's been in the stone off, he's been against Maxime Boudreau or Tom Stoltman, two guys you really don't want to be up against. So we'll take a look at some stats and facts. He's had an amazing kind of last 10 months, really. The early part of last year, he was trying for a baby with his wife, his performances. Yeah, he's got a baby now, all healthy, doing really well. And since then, his performances have just got better and better. I think he's been on almost every podium that he's done in the last few shows.
He's got that dad strength now. But yes, let's look at the stats and facts about Aivars Smaukstelis. So Aivars has been competing at an international level since 2014 and has been a regular on the Strongman Champions League scene. So far in his career, Aivars has won an incredible 20 international competitions and is a two-time Strongman Champions League world champion. Aivars is currently on an incredible run, having podiumed at the last 7 competitions he's competed in and winning 4 of them. And altogether, he has been on a rather exceptional 39 international podiums.
Aivars is a very successful strongman.
He's great. Like, you look at those stats, it's crazy.
When you look at the international shows that he's won, he's won more shows than the likes of Alexei Novikov, the likes of Kiliashkovsky, the likes of, I don't know.
All of them. The only person still competing who has won more than Aivars is Brian Shaw. The difference, though, of course, we should point out, it's a different standard of competition that Matej and Alexei are winning.
Of course. And this is the thing with Aivars. His World's Strongest Man performances, like we said at the start, he's only made 1 final out of 5 appearances. However, he has been very close, just losing out on the stones to 2 exceptional stone lifters. So shall we take a look at the events and see how we think Aivars can do at this year's contest? So loading should be a good start for Aivars. He's very solid at moving type events. In 2020, he won the loading against the likes of Brian Shaw and Terry Hollands.
Luke Stoltman
as well. So, you know, he's got good pedigree in this type of event and did very well at the loading at Europe's Strongest Man recently as well.
Now, the deadlift machine is an interesting one. Like, Aivars, he's not known as the biggest deadlifter. He is decent for reps, and we were both very impressed with his 7 reps that he did at Europe's Strongest Man with 350 kilos.
Absolutely. I was kind of shocked at how well he did with that, to be honest. He isn't known as a massive deadlifter, but when it's not super heavy, if it's not for max weight, he tends to score decent points. It's an event he's beatable, but he will pick up points. And, you know, I think that's the great thing with Aivars. He is very consistent across the board. So log ladder is very similar to the deadlift, although I would say he's probably a little bit better when it comes to log lifting than a deadlift. But the log ladder is an event that suits him, again, more than a log for max, perhaps.
Yeah, it suits his strengths because he's a fast athlete and he's quite precise. Like we say, that experience, he doesn't panic. He just gets things right when it matters.
He knows how to get the most out of his performances. So with an event like this, he will go in with a strategy and be looking to pick up points. And that's what he does very, very well in every competition that he does.
Now, Aivars came 6th at the Conan Circle at Europe's Strongest Man last weekend. He's had great performances on it in the past. I do feel, you know, at Europe's, you had Pavlo Kordiaka, who was absolutely amazing. Alexei Novikov, we should point out, also broke the world record on it when he did it. So we had some great Conan's walkers, do you want to call them? I don't know. So I think he would be top 2, maybe top 3 in any group, though.
Again, you know, he's got that consistency. I think you're going to struggle to put 5 guys in the same group that are all going to beat him on a cone and circle. There's no chance of that. He's just got this ability to keep racking up points, and I expect to see him do that at World's Strongest Man.
And we talk about consistency. He's also good at throwing. So we've got the kettlebell throw next, and this is the type of event that Aivars has won a couple of times in the past. Last year at the Strongman Champions League Record Breakers show, the last implement or bag was 35 kilos, which I think is quite heavy, isn't it?
It's pretty heavy, yeah.
Over 4.5 metres, and he won that finishing the run.
Yeah, and when you look at all these events, you can't see him placing too low. You know, I don't think he's going to win the group, because I think you're going to have some exceptional guys in each group, but I certainly expect to see him battling for a stone off position. And if he gets into the stone off, he is an exceptional stone lifter. Now, we mentioned that he lost out to Tom Stoltman and Maxime, who you consider, along with Brian and Trey, as probably the best stone lifters, certainly right now. Maybe Martin's Lisses you could put into that list as well. But Aivars against anyone else, you'd favour him, especially if he's got that advantage on the stone. So I think he's going to be in a position where he could make the final.
Absolutely. So we'll look at the final events for Aivars, and they're starting, of course, with the Fingal's Finger. Now, he's okay at this. We saw him do it in the 2021 World's Strongest Man heats, and he was in Brian Shaw's group, which is always a great measure. Brian was the only person to finish all 5. Aivars did 4 in the fastest time.
Yeah, and I'm getting bored of saying this right now, but there's just no big weakness.
No.
You know, he's good at figuring things out. He's good at getting the best out of himself. Is he going to challenge the top guys on this event? No, he's not. But I expect him to score points. Now, the deadlift in the final could cost him a little bit more, I think. You're going to have potentially 8 to 10 amazing deadlifters in the final, and this is where having a slight weakness is showing up a little bit more. He has the potential to beat a couple of guys, maybe like a Kiliashkovsky if he makes the final, one or two others, maybe like a Luke Stoltman if Luke's in the final, but you're going to have a lot of big deadlifters that will be outlifting him when it comes to this event.
So shield carry, based on his track record, he's decent at. He's not winning shield carry events, and in the sort of calibre of this competition, I would expect mid-pack would be a really good performance for Aivars.
We keep saying it, don't we?
I know. Yeah,
he is a mid-pack type guy. And this is the interesting thing with a competition like World's Strongest Man. Aivars is very solid.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any events where he can beat absolutely anyone. And this is going to be his issue when you step up to a World's Strongest Man or an Arnold's or a Rogue Invitational. Those type of competitions, you've got to have a couple of events that you can potentially beat everyone at.
Weapons, I'll say.
Weapons. I like to talk about weapons, and this is just where he probably falls a little bit short. At a slightly lower level international, where you don't quite have as many good guys, because of that consistency, he's always competitive, because there is no weakness in his arsenal. He's good at almost every event. He's just not the best.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be the issue with an Aivars in a final of World's Strongest Man. How's his dumbbell?
His dumbbell's really good. So last year at the World Tour Finals, he was joint first with Pavlo Kordiaka when they did a dumbbell for reps. At Whoosh Strength Island, he was second behind Alexei Novikov, doing 8 reps of a 100 kilo dumbbell. And that's a dumbbell that quite a few guys zeroed. So, it was a great performance. I don't really know, though, how that translates to a max dumbbell, because we just don't see the guys tested.
When we look at his max log and his max deadlift and, max type events, it is where he sometimes just drops a little bit more.
He doesn't really
better
do
for
max lifts. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't train for max lifts because they're often not in the competitions that he's doing.
Sure, but when we've seen him do max lifts, they have been a little bit lower. Yeah. So I think against the likes of a Kiliashkovsky, a Brian Shaw, a Novikov, maybe one or two others, it's going to be hard to get in that top half.
Here we go then. Truck pull. Not a great event for Aivars. Now, in recent competitions, in the last year or so, he's placed more mid to lower end of the table. And when you translate that to a World's Strongest Man final sort of standard.
And this surprises me because he is someone that's done so many competitions, done a lot of Champions League competitions where they do a lot of truck pull type events. You would think he'd be a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe we found it. His weakness. We found his weakness.
Found his
there we go.
Achilles heel.
Yes.
And then, once again, finishing with the Atlas Stones, as we said, he's a very competent stone lifter. He's won or placed high in most competitions when it comes to the stones.
He's won it in 10 competitions, the Atlas Stones, which is a great run. And, of course, most recently being at Europe's Strongest Man this year.
Yeah. And again, You'd expect a few guys, though, that are bigger stone lifters. At Europe's, there was no Brian Shaw, there was no Tom Stoltman.
Or Trey. But do you know what? I think he could be fourth behind those guys. I genuinely think he's that good that in that sort of competition, he'll still place very highly. I think very highly of Aivars.
Well, we love Aivars. He is an amazing strongman, very solid overall. I think he's got a good chance of making the final. If he gets into the final, I don't see him challenging in the top half. I think he's going to be, 10th to 6th kind of position.
Okay, I was going to say 6th to 8th. He came 8th in 2020. I would like to, and he's better now than he was then. Although I think the standards jumped up since then. So he's more than capable of getting in the final. But I think that's where Aivars belongs in this type of lineup. An amazing strongman, just not quite enough weapons, as I like to say, to challenge the top guys and win a World's Strongest Man title. Right, guys, do you think Aivars Smaukstelis can make it to the final? Can he shock everyone and get onto the podium at World's Strongest Man? I know Auntie Liz would be very happy to see that. We love him. He is such a cool, laid-back character. He doesn't stress. He copes with pressure really well. He's normally just really tired. He's one of the best people to sit with at a competition, honestly, because there's no stress at all.
No stress. But you do get this little roar from him just before he's about to go on.
Yes, the war cry.
Switches it on just at that last minute.
When he needs
we
to.
wish Aivars the absolute best it was. Let us know your thoughts on Aivars Smaukstelis down in the comments below. Like, share and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time. Stay strong.